for anyone who's watching right now, and there might be some who still haven't quite, ventured into buying their Bitcoin, or if they have, they've had some experiences with it. Why do you think someone should buy Bitcoin through an ETF? What's sort of the one thing that they should realize, and gives them that? What's the key
Oh,
benefit?
the security and peace of mind. So it's so straightforward. Security and peace of mind. Like time after time, we see people having issues trying to buy Bitcoin when it comes to large amounts, right? When try to send, more than a certain threshold a month or a day via your bank to a crypto exchange, you get all sorts of problems. Like your money might get frozen, you might miss the bull run, or it's just pain to deal with, right? Like Combank has like a 10 grand a month limit. It takes like 8 years to send $1 million. So for the sort of small retail buyers, it's really a pain point if they're sending $300 a week to an exchange. But for like the bigger players that want to either say they sold a property or they got an inheritance, they want to move it all to Bitcoin, like effectively the exchange pathway is a death sentence. All right. It's basically playing with fire. Maybe go through the first time, but the second time you get a bunch of questions and the bank account gets frozen and all your mortgage accounts get closed in 45 days, right? But with an ETF, it's a security. Like how you buy an ETF, the same way how you buy, any security on a stock market. You just transfer your funds into your brokerage account, right? There's no um, marking on what you're going to buy when it goes to the brokerage account because you can still decide what you want to do with that when the money hits your ComSec or whatnot. And then you decide then today you want to put all into this or all into that or part into IBTC or something like that. And that's the freedom you get. And and also it's the security when it comes out as well as all the system. If someone wants to sort of cash out in a Bitcoin coming from an exchange, same thing. Big amounts cause problems. But with a big payout from a brokerage or a share registry, it just looks like someone just made money on selling securities, right? You get all the relevant taxes, the whole thing is clean, the whole thing is, there's licensing and there's like all this thing that's very clear on it. Your tax accountants understand this thing very well. Your any licensed accountant would be able to deal with proceeds of securities. Whereas with crypto, you got to then maybe risk it on a crypto tax app that you pay more money to subscribe on, and then you have an ATO issue and all this stuff and you got to pay for lawyers and all this kind of stuff. And these are not like made up stories, right? People around the Aussie crypto scene know this pain point, right? From the banks, from all this relevant authorities that are basically it's a mismatch of information when it comes to what this industry is. Like we've famously fought this many times over the years with in Australia, is that like there's always a big argument that crypto is used for fraud, but in fact, a very, very small percentage of it. But everyone else is being punished for it. So, but that hasn't been a solution yet. There's a clear solution for that yet. But in the meantime, Bitcoin ETF, no issues.
Yeah, I think that easy, transfer into stock brokerages and a lot of existing rails and regulations around that makes it much easier. And also, I think for super funds as well, um, there is obviously some easier rails for stocks and things like that. So that's much more. It's like less administration as well, and like that peace of mind, like you said. In terms of these trends you're seeing right now, institutional demand, retail demand, AI. What is Monochrome doing over the next sort of 3 years? Where are you sort of positioning yourself? What new products are coming up? Yeah, what's exciting to you?
Yeah, like on our ETF side, like it's very clear that we are bridging between crypto and TradFi wealth, because we're the only Bitcoin ETF in the whole world that can facilitate in-kind transfers from Bitcoin into the ETF, meaning you can transfer your Bitcoin from your exchange wallet or your private co-wallet into the ETF without going to a bank. Right, that's not possible for any other Bitcoin ETFs in the whole world. You might say that, Jeff, I heard that, or BlackRock's IBIT can do in kind, but that in kind is only for market makers, which is irrelevant for every other investing population, right? It's a very niche usage of that. But with IBTC, with the Monochrome Bitcoin ETF, it's open to all investors, that option, both in and also out. And that's been facilitating, we've been facilitating in-kind transfer, Bitcoin transfers in out of the ETF, basically every week. So since launch. So that's something that really is a breach because like going back to what I said about like ETF is like TradFi DeFi. There's a lot of different ways people use a Bitcoin ETF. One way is that they put their Bitcoin into an ETF, which is a financial instrument, and then go to their bank to get leverage on it. Because a listed stock is, in most financial institutions, is an approved asset to provide lending against. And a Bitcoin ETF is the perfect collateral because you can sell it. Whereas a property or anything like that takes years and it takes weeks, and slippages on that is crazy. But with Bitcoin ETF, if let's say there's no market in the entirety of Australia, you can take the Bitcoin out in kind and take it to somewhere else and cut in the world to sell it, right? So it's like it's something that we see people do that, and the governance of doing that is so much more safer than say going through a unlicensed crypto lender, right? Because A, the thing unlicensed, and B, even with some licensed crypto lenders, the Bitcoin gets rehypothecated, right? Bitcoin gets borrowed or used somewhere else, it gets out of the system. But with the Bitcoin ETF, because the money from the bank doesn't come from selling of the Bitcoin, the security never moves. The Bitcoin sits in custody the whole time. It just moves from the securities custodian of the holder to the securities custodian of, say, the bank. And that's why people prefer that, I think. And also, it's not just about this kind of lending, but there's a lot of different facilities that private bankers would do for their big, real clients, and they can do it easily when they have a regulated listed security versus if they just have a bunch of crypto in a private wallet. So this is something that we see really is that we're bridging the gap of getting the banks' trust and governance and experience in running these products and offer it into crypto wealth, right? So crypto wealth, instead of having to trust, oh shit, what's the next BlockFi? Well, who's going to be the next FTX and who's going to be the next Celsius when I'm going to pull my assets out because it's run by a bunch of people that may not have the right governance to run these kind of products, and his history has proven that. But the banks doesn't, right? The bank's been running for a bunch of different problems, but in terms of running products safely, they have a good track record compared to a lot of crypto people. So it's about giving crypto wealth that kind of assurance and governance on the other side, the TradFi side. And for TradFi, it's the first time they can actually interact with crypto wealth. So that if they're facing with a client with a $10 million portfolio, instead of telling the client to go sell this into fiat, which the client is not going to do, right, and buy a bunch of like funds and all this stuff, they can now just say that, hey, like if you can turn this into a listed security like a Bitcoin ETF, we might be able to do something for you, right? So it's a way for them to tap into that client base as well.
Makes sense. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for joining us. It's been incredible, and I think that Monochrome's got obviously a lot of really interesting, well positioned. How much is the funds under management now up to? It seems to be climbing and climbing every week.
It's like around $100 million US.
Wow.
So it's yeah. A Bitcoin ETF, like we see a lot of movements in and out. People putting Bitcoin in, cashing out. People it's a lot of interesting movements of how people use the Bitcoin ETF, and we're learning every week as well. And I think right now people are just starting to wake up that they can actually do it in kind. And yeah, I mean, I would always tell people that like it's been there for quite a bit of time. If they want to ask questions, they can reach out to us or even try with a small amount.
Where's the best place to reach out to you, Jeff? Where should people follow along?
I just on the website, ibtc.au for the ETF or monochrome.au for monochrome.
Wonderful. Well, Jeff Yew, thank you so much for joining us, CEO of Monochrome, really a pioneer of the ETF space for Bitcoin in Australia. And we're looking forward to catching up again, and we'll see where we're up to, and appreciate you joining us.
Thanks, Fred.